Pissy elevators, shitty hallways, only $1, split it 4 ways. Credit in the store, needles on the floor. If I had one wish, I wish for more. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of How to Beat the Streets podcast. Oh man. Now today, man, I love sharing these spaces with powerful brothers, man. I got a special guest in the building. I'm not even gonna say no more, man. I just want you to just let them know what's your name, where you from, and what you got going on.
Larry Irvin, man. I'm the high-risk CEO of Brothers in Power to Teach. We recruit, train, place, develop, support black men to become educators, man, through an undergraduate fellowship where we pay them in exchange for their time and their commitment to being exposed to working with kids early on in the K-5 window and then working all the way up through the K-12 window. But just it's early exposure, it's professional development, it's personal development, it's adulting one-on-one. We're grooming men and grooming great educators at the same time, man.
All right. Now, here on this show, we always get started with a quote. The quote we got for you is, "Black boys don't need more discipline. We need more love." What do you think about this quote?
I think it's 100% accurate. That's not to dismiss discipline. I do think there's a conversation around like structure, right, and regiment that black boys need, and having that foundation, right, starting early on. But we definitely need more love, more care for one another and from the world.
That's true. And it's like when I think about just a high risk CEO, what does that mean to you, like a high risk CEO? Yeah,
it just means I obviously taking risk, but I was deemed as high risk by the space of, if you want to call it, education reform, black education reform. I've had a lot of fellowships and had the blessing and opportunity to be in a lot of different spaces as far as education, as far as leadership development and professional development. And I think me having an untraditional story and untraditional trajectory to education, you have a group of folks that, who see leadership and success and that archetype of leadership from a certain ilk, if you will. And I don't think sometimes aesthetically I fit that for certain people. So they hear my story and then they see my stature and they meet me, right? And even though I have all of these accolades and these accomplishments, and I've had, we got the impact and the organization and the tenure and all of that, some people just see me, I think, from a certain lens, are going to continue to see, like I see a lot of black men, from a deficit, right? Seeing me as a liability rather than an asset because of the packaging of Larry Irvin. And that's where I got the high-risk CEO label moniker from.
That's dope, man. And I think shout out to Dr. Brown. I know he wanted to put us together because I'm pretty much, real similar when it comes to like education, like the way I show up. People would never assume that I'm in my 9th year of teaching mathematics. You know what I mean? So can you tell us a little bit about why you are not the traditional educator?
Yeah, how I got into it. So my story has a lot of sort of serendipity, if you will, in some regards, but I'll just say my mom was an educator, so I've seen education. She was educated in New Orleans for over 30 years, Head Start particularly, specifically. So I've whenever I got in trouble in my own classrooms or got put out of school or things of that nature, a lot of times I had to go to her classroom and sit as punishment, and I had to help her a lot of times. So I was always, from kindergarten, I've been helping pass out, papers and help grade papers and passing out graham crackers and milks and, help with classroom management. So, but my story is very untraditional. Even though my grew up a single parent home, pops wasn't there in the house with me, but my mom had to work 2 or 3 jobs a lot of times, and I had to go outside in New Orleans and find manhood and masculinity and how that, what that meant to me. And that ended up causing me, running with a group of characters, colorful characters, and making certain choices in regards to drugs and guns and things of that nature, right? That ain't a unique story for black men. There's a lot of Larrys, but I think balancing that equilibrium and balancing that duality of experiences has really conditioned me to be in a position and tell this story and tell this narrative I've come out of that unscathed enough to be able to tell a good story and really really give inspiration to a conversation that needs more light.
Right. And for me, like when I'm doing this show, right, I got a lot of brothers that watch this show that was incarcerated.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm trying to like convey to them is like when you come home, there's still hope. There's still, possibility. And honestly, if you use your story correctly, a lot of people will, actually put you in position, because right now it's a big battle amongst, young black men and trying to like save them. Yeah. And I always felt like the cure is them seeing brothers that went through what they went through and still made it. You know what I mean?
Very much so.
Can you share a little bit about your story on how, how you end up, getting locked up?
Getting into the situation and how I get into this.
Right, we want to keep it real.
Where I am now. So my mother passed 2010, right? So
condolences.
When she passed, I really got introspective about where I was in life and things of that nature. And and I had been in school, so I went to LSU for journalism. So academically, like I said, I've always been strong, you know what I mean? But after she passed, I ended up catching another gun and narcotic charge at home with a partner of mine. He's a fairly popular rapper in New Orleans. And had a high-speed chase with Orleans Parish. Had some things on us, firearm, whatnot, work and whatnot. And that happened right after my mom passed. So, I couldn't use my education and things of that nature because I had a prior criminal history as well with drugs and guns. And I got really forced to be creative, bro, to be honest with you, as far as survival. To be honest, I never had I never yearned to start a nonprofit. I never yearned to be an educator, even though my mom begged me her entire tenure to be an educator. I fought that. She always told me, like, Larry, you're a really good communicator. You're really, you know what I'm saying? You'll be a really good educator. But, like, once again, who's having those conversations in urban settings with black men about being a teacher? We see, I always talk about the big three. We see, sports, entertainment, and drugs, because we can just go outside our doors and see that.
Right.
So that affirmation for us visually isn't hard to find versus being an educator. Like, who's having that conversation around the way? Nobody. In the hood? Nobody, right? So my criminal background put barriers on me, so I couldn't use my education. So, after she passed, I had to get really creative and really introspective about what I'm gonna do to survive as a man. You know what I'm saying? I was washing dishes at the time, and I was 30 years old at that time.
How long did you have to be incarcerated?
Well, I wasn't incarcerated. I got a gun charge. I got a gun and drug charge.
Okay.
So my first charge, I played Article 894.
Okay.
What they call in Louisiana. So that was my first charge, right? I'm talking about the second charge right now, though. But my first charge, I played Article 894. So I ended up getting probation. I ended up getting 2 years probation. And if I ended up going through that clean, with the drug test and all of that, it would get expunged after 5 years.
Okay.
That was my first gun charge. And then the second gun charge, the gun and drug charge, the same thing ended up happening because it was after my 5-year probation. Okay. Period, with the expungement and things of that nature. So I got tried again internally with the courts. Not externally, because it was still, it would still come up on my record internally with the courts, but externally, a job couldn't see that this was my actual second, my second gun charge. That make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where was I? So the first charge, I played what they call Article 894 as a first time offense. I ended up getting probation. They dropped it down. But those two charges together, right at 30, after I've graduated and gotten, a degree in journalism, I couldn't use none of it. Because any job I applied for, background check. So I looked up at 30. I was washing dishes for $8.50 an hour, bro. At Italian Pie in this place called Redfish on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? The French Quarters. Mm-hmm. So, and I just and my mom I'm looking at my life like, man, what?
Gotta do something now.
Yeah, my check $232 every 2 weeks, bro. $232 every 2 weeks, and I'm a 30-year-old man. Yeah. So the expectations, as far as from friends and family and things of that nature, so they looking at me like, bro, like what are you doing? I'm on my dad's couch at this time. Once again, at 30 years old. So and they I got the type of family where they ain't hold no punches. They let me know every day that I was a bum. Like dude, you're a big failure. Like you're a big old failure. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't giving me the grace of like, oh, he got charges, but he's smart. He could do something, but he got charges, and they won't hire him because his background. It was no, you broke, you're unemployed, you're 30 years old, you're a black man, you're a failure. It was that simple. And I heard that every day. I heard it every day. And I always, we always had these conversations now where I'm like, y'all ain't really give me a break in that regard, man. As far as understanding my whole situation, y'all was just looking at what was in front of y'all right then and there, man. But
you think that added to your motivation, though?
Absolutely,
keeping
man.
It real
I still carry it. I still carry it, and I don't hold it against them. You know what I'm saying? I think they noticed the potential that I had, and I think they was just like, we expect way more than this from you. But I just wish they would have, because I think sometimes, without knowing it, man, family and friends with those expectations and getting so down on brothers can check out on themselves. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Brothers that feel like if my closest people to me, you know what I'm saying, have checked out on me, I'm gonna check out on myself.
Yeah,
and that can end sometimes fatal. You know what I mean? Because mentally it puts you in a space, man, where it's just like, I'm really useless. Like I have no utility to the family. I have no. You know what I'm saying? I'm borrowing money from everybody, and they looking at you as a degenerate species that doesn't deserve to breathe almost. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and they don't hold no punches with that. It's like,
tough.
You're a failure, bro. Like,
so how you end up turning that around?
Serendipity, man. So I ended up meeting my co-founder, Christina Jones, in 2000, right after I caught my charge, man. She had moved down from New York, actually. And we became friends, and she started introducing me to different people. And I started telling people my story. I just started telling them what was going on with me.
Tell your story, folks.
Yeah, tell your story. And I just started telling people what happened with me. And but I was about to tell you, I went back to my alma mater where I played football after my mom passed and the charges and all that, because I was really trying to piece. I'm looking for help from anywhere, man. So I went back to my old high school. One of my old high school football coach, Craig Lingle, he was there, and I just told him, like, man, my mom passed. I just caught another charge. Like, life is spiraling for me right now. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I can't get a job. I can't get past a background check. And he was like, "Larry, this is what we'll do." He was like, "Cause I remember your heart and your spirit from when you played. You know defensive line. You know what I'm saying? You're a great player. You know the concepts." He was like, "Look, come down and we're gonna volunteer. I'm gonna put you on the staff, on the coaching staff as a volunteer. Right? We ain't gonna be able to pay you nothing. You know what I'm saying? But the first thing I had to do, I had to go to the superintendent of Orleans Parish. And I wrote a 4-page letter to the superintendent telling him, like, my story, like all my charges, this is what and I'm trying to turn it around. And I asked for a pardon because I had to get a pardon to be able to be around kids and students to be able to coach. So that happened. Lord bless me. The superintendent gave me the pardon. I started coaching, volunteering for free. And I was a natural. Like, it was a natural, man. And students, parents, other coaches alike was coming to me after practices and games and was like, man, have you ever thought about being an educator? Because they saw how I worked with kids, and I had no formal training. It just kind of came naturally, and my communication skills, and just I think my story, and
just like your mom told you.
Yeah, it resonated with the kids, and my coach was begging me to, like, go in as a substitute. Like, he was like, "Larry, just give it a try. Just give it a try. Like, you're an amazing coach. I know you would be incredible in the classroom." I'm like, man, my mom, you talking the same stuff my mom talking, man. Like, here y'all go with this education. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't nobody want to be no teacher, man. That ain't fly. Like, who doing that? Ain't teachers getting money like that, man. So, and coming from the world that I'm, where you seeing money on a certain level. But I gave it a try, bro. I gave it a try, went in as a substitute, so I got the pardon. I had to apply through a temp agency called Kelly Services. I went through the temp agency, and I started taking K-12 placements all through K-12. I was teaching kindergarten. I was teaching 12th grade biology, because as a substitute, you just take whatever assignment they give you. You just go and take. You don't get a pick. Get to pick. Oh, I want to do 6th grade. Science. It don't work like that. You just you go into this database and you pick you just take assignments, and it just took off, man. I mean, from kindergarten to my 12th grade experiences, man, it was just like, I felt at home, bro, to be honest with you. Like, when I felt on a stage, very similar to, outside, I'm like, man, this is a stage. This is like, it almost felt like a performance, you know what I'm saying? And veteran teachers saw it, and students was like, man, you ever thought about, like, getting certified and being an educator for real? Because you're really good as far as communication, classroom management. And I was going into schools, man, and dealing with classrooms and students that veteran teachers who had tenure had been dealing with and could never, like, corral. And on my first week, I'm dealing with students and classrooms and calming them down and getting them engaged in lesson planning and things of that nature that veteran teachers couldn't, who had been there and who couldn't figure those students in those classrooms out, man. And people started seeing that and noticing that. And I saw that for myself. I'm just like, I am really good at this. So one thing led to another, man, and I kept substitute. And once again, going back to my co-founder, I met her telling people my story, man. One thing led to another. She told me, she introduced me to a lady called Miss Amber Sealy, white woman from, I think she was from Cincinnati, and she told me about Echo and Green. She was like, you know what, Echo and Green has this Black Male Initiative now going out. They're looking for like stories like this and people like change agents like this. I didn't know about no fellowship. I couldn't spell fellowship. I'm like, what was a fellowship? You know what I'm saying? What is? So she said she sent me the application, and I sat there, bro. Me and Christina sat there and we went through the application, man. Like just with this concept of like around Black men, very rough, raw concept about like this fellowship, this pilot fellowship about exposing Black men to education, man. And we went there, came up here in New York. I pitched in front of Sean Dove and the Echo and Green staff. We didn't get it, but we made it to the finals. And we figured we had something. So we took that momentum back to New Orleans, started a pilot. One thing led to another, man. We 175 students, fellows placed later, 80% success rate, TED Talks, almost 2 million views. I won a slew of pitch competitions across the country telling my story, created WeWork, run $130,000 there. We got funding now. Mackenzie Scott just gave us a bag. It's just, man, a lot's happening in between that, but that's like the rough backdrop of Brothers in Power to Teach, man, and Larry and how I got here.
Wow, man, we definitely got to clap it up for that, man.
Yeah, it's a crazy one, man. It's a crazy one. I'm still wrapping my head around it. Like my story is so colorful. I'm almost like I feel like an audience member watching my own.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it sound like a movie. I'm sitting here like
it
wow,
is,
man.
and that's light. Like that's the surface level. Like I'm telling you, the high level. Yeah, I call it show. Like we ain't getting into like the you know what I'm saying, like the real darkness of things that was happening. You know what I'm saying, around me. You know what I mean, me burying my best friend Rashad from a heroin overdose. You know what I mean, during this time, and this was 2014 when I first started like really get the pilot off the ground. My cousin Danny being gunned down in the 8th Ward in New Orleans, you know what I'm saying, in his BMW. Me seeing his BMW pass down on the tow truck and, you know, and getting that news and being a pallbearer for both of their funerals.
Wow.
And just asking these questions to myself, like, man, like why I'm carrying these caskets, like, why not me?
Right.
Like, why not me? We were hanging together, we making the same choices, you know what I'm saying? Like, why do I keep getting these chances to like do something, you know what I'm saying? Because I could have been locked up. Mm-hmm. If we want to be real, I could have been locked up. The first charge, the second charge, you know what I'm saying? Like every time it's like something happens, or I get this grace, a level of grace, whether it's from the court system or somebody giving me an opportunity, man, where it's just, it feels like something, there's a bigger purpose that has to happen. I know it sounds cheesy, bro. It sounds like cliche, but I kid you not, man. There's so many times in my life, man, where things could have been devastating. And something just plays in my favor. Like I really walk in God's favor, man, in God's favor, like for real.
That's what it's all about too, man. I always tell people like you gotta follow the signs. You know what I mean?
They're
like there. They always there.
They're there.
And it always happens a certain way. Like even you telling your story to me just gave me enough to go, you know, even further on what I'm doing, because it's like you just serving as an example of like God telling me, I told you it's a whole lane for this out here.
Yeah.
The world needs it. And now that brings me to the question of the day.
Yes, sir.
As a teacher, a lot of we got a lot of female teachers. We got a lot of teachers who not, even of the, the black culture,
Right. Yeah.
So one question they always ask me to ask brothers like you is what do all teachers need to do to be effective when it comes down to one, helping educate young black men, two, keeping them engaged, and like getting them motivated enough to like want to win in the classroom?
Black men, we're not seen, man. We're not seen, bro. I'm gonna just be honest with you. The deficit perspective of black men and boys is real. Education in K-12 space, like inside the classroom, doesn't change that, right? There's narratives that have some that are concrete. There's narratives and storylines about black men, right? Socially, when we think about just where we stand in society, the image of the black male is not the greatest. If we look at it from a global standpoint, you ask other races, other walks of life, like black man, word association, black male, you probably gonna get a lot of negative, you know what I'm saying, return on as far as like people associations with that, right? It carries the same weight, I think, in schools, and I think we're seen as less human. I think that, and that's not just a white conversation. That's not just a white black conversation. Like black men have been demonized to a point to where we just seen black men and boys have been demonized to a point where we're seen as less human. So I think it just starts with like people getting their humanity back. You know what I'm saying? Like how do we get black boys to be seen from day one, right? To be seen as human like any other demographic, right? I think a lot of times our experience in K-12 is based around, it's contextualized around behavioral expectations, not academic success. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of my partners going to school and everything, we sat in the back of the class, you know what I'm saying, we was clowning, because I think indirectly K-12 sends us signals that we're not there to be successful academically. Right. We're really there to behave, to make sure we not cutting up too bad. You know what I'm saying? Even our parents and family, like, right? The women in my family would always, my mom, my aunties would always, Larry, don't go in that classroom cutting up. You better sit down. We ain't have no conversation about academics. Don't you go in that classroom cutting up. So the standard and expectation for yourself going into school is, let me just get through school and make sure I don't get in a fight, right, and make sure I don't get suspended. I mean, that's happening anyway, right? But that's the expectation. The expectation was never make sure you and I'm speaking collectively, right? As black men as a whole, right? I don't think the tone isn't we're expected to thrive and be in front of the classroom and being answering all the questions. And like we have pockets of us that have success and achieve academically. Like I did, my mom, like everybody's mom ain't a teacher though, right? I had quizzes at school and at home. I had tests at school, and my mom was a teacher's teacher. Gems. I had spelling bees. I had her spelling bees, and I had school spelling bees. You know what I'm saying? I had her pop quizzes, and I had my school pop quizzes. I had to compete academically against my oldest sibling, Charlene. You know what I'm saying? So that separated me. Everybody ain't going home to that. So when you think about that behavioral expectation, man, and you don't have that, like a teacher in your house, the world is telling you you're not there to thrive. You're there to just maintain. And look at the school to prison pipeline and like all of these different things, right? That's tailored around these narratives, that's tailored around experiences, that's tailored around black men. That's what we interpret.
And that makes me think about, right now we're in the boogie down Bronx and it's like 50 years of hip hop. Yep. So I wanted to ask you, like, in your opinion, why is it not cool to be educated? And it's like, this been happening for a long time now. Like, even when I think about hip hop, certain things, it's not conveyed. Even in music, like, it's hard to get in if you kicking knowledge. Yeah, like, man. And I know, New Orleans is big on music. Yeah. Hip hop is big everywhere. So, like, why is it still not cool to be educated?
I think it's changing, but it's still right. The tone is still like, that's corny.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Being a tough guy, you get all the love still in class.
Look, man, and I'm a big podcast watcher, man. One thing I've always, some of my favorite rappers, man, T.I., Plies, Jadakiss more recently. Yeah, I seen him on the Joe Budden podcast and with his pops in the top. He's talking about his academic background. I'm like, wait, what?
He's stellar.
I'm like, wait, I've always seen Jada as this gorilla McGilla gangster, like, and I'm like, why don't we talk about that more?
Yo, it's so funny because I didn't want to Jadakiss is one of my favorite rappers, and for a while I never wanted to talk about this topic because I felt like it would make him look a certain way, right? Because I'm like, yo, the Catholic school background, the two-parent home, the father with a hardworking father, man, the son that is Clark Atlanta graduate, he in a fraternity, and I'm like, wait, but when you hear the bars, it's straight for the dudes that's locked up north and all that, and it's like, damn, why he never wanted to show us that he was educated?
It's a problem, bro. It's a problem. T.I. is another one who don't speak as much about his academic success. Plies is another one when you hear him on interviews. These are like guys I love, right? You hear him on interviews and it's like, wait, you're articulate. Mm-hmm. You can speak really. You speak really, really well. Yep. You have a depth and breadth to you, brother, that, you know what I'm saying, that doesn't transfer over to the music. And I understand, music is you're selling a product, right? And it's not the most popular and sexy thing, but we can make it that. We've always made whatever we want to make cool. So to bring it back to your question though, brother, look, it's something I'm aggravated of. I don't have an answer for you as far as like why, but it's something I'm definitely super aggravated of because there's a lot of smart and like multi-layered brothers out here, man, that we just don't even know about, and that genius. And like Jada, I don't think Jadakiss understands the power of that, like him sharing that in his story. Because a lot of brothers and stuff be like, you know what? Because if more people like Jada started talking about it, it would become cool. You wouldn't have to shun your academic success and act like you a damn dummy knowing, you know what I'm saying? You're extremely academically well off.
And I see it all the time. Like there's a couple young brothers that I teach that's sharp, but they don't want to raise their hand and read. I try to like cold call them like, hey, my man,
they don't want to shoot it.
Nah, and I'm like, wait, how is this theory still surviving in 2023 with a whole nother generation of black men?
And I have a conversation.
It's about to happen again.
I have a conversation, a very in-depth conversation in our Cypher series, our personal and professional development series with our young men. And I put the last one we had for the Today Show was down, right? And I asked them what's the role of black women in the archetypes of masculinity that we see in the black community, right? There's this like you got this thug, you got the thug archetype, right? Then you got the good. Everything else is good boy. Like you pussy. Excuse my language. Yep. Like if you anything outside of like this gorilla killer Magilla cat, you pussy.
Right.
And I'm like, and I posed the question to them, and they lost their mind. I'm like, what role does black women play in that, or do they have a role in that? Right? Because I know we could tell. If you ask me, some of it is that attraction. Like a lot of us go that route to be attracted to that.
Everybody love it. I have a lot of females, come on the podcast, and I always ask them, what kind of guys you like, and I tell you, 20 out of 20, they like the, you got that rough edge, you know what I mean? Lola Brooke got a song out right now. I just want a rough nigga on the tongue, like that's what they. When
like. Does the good guy become cool then? Once again, bro. Like why is it never the nerd, the geek? I ain't even say just a regular dude who got the bad girl at school.
Or what about
the baddest chick at school?
The guy like us, you know what I mean? With the story, coming from the streets, coming from all that, and he changed his life.
And cleaned it up.
He should be I feel like he's God. Like he should be like you, brothers like me, brothers like IQ in the building. Like we should be highlighted, even for me. You know how angry I was when I come back to my block and they give me the quiet love. Like they don't be posting my stuff like that. You know what I mean? I just did a podcast with Dame Dash. I'm in the building with Larry, and they gonna look at it, but they not gonna give me the same love if I just came home from prison. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, you know how hard it was to go to college and get these degrees.
Man, listen,
you know what I mean? It's hard to turn my head to the drugs, to the guns, to my father's story. Hard. And I'm making it right now.
It's so hard, bro, because it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. It's so accessible. That lifestyle is so accessible. So, I would pose you, man. Like, what do you? I don't want to just leave it with black women as like black women are the culprit. These are just questions that we pose, right? We can always have the white supremacy conversation, right?
Right.
And tie it back to racism somehow. But I like to like stir it up a little bit more, stir the pot a little bit more, and really interrogate what's going on with our brothers psychologically, man, because it's something we have to get to the bottom of.
We got to. Like my cousin right now, he always telling me, yo, you gotta flex more. Like you can't be in this position of
like our
educator, our type. Like, you gotta
yeah.
You know what I mean? I wanted to put down a BMW because I started learning financial literacy, and they like, nah, you gotta. Unfortunately, you gotta keep that because the hustler on the corner, he gonna get that one in red, black, yellow, and the kid's gonna look at you. You going because I'm financially.
I think that's
smart.
Something that'll.
I'm gonna get the Toyota because it's the better payment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now the kid's gonna look at me. You smart, you educated, but now you're gonna put the tie on, the suit on, the Toyota. You about to get devalued because you're doing the right things, but it's like.
So I guess it is the aesthetic, like the look of things, right? And I try to be very intentional about that, because my fellows they watch me. I'm a fly, like I pop my, you know what I mean?
Got to.
I do, and I think it has an influence on how they view being an educator and the possibilities. It opens up the scope of possibilities because they're like, oh, Mr. Larry wear Pradas and. You know what I'm saying? He get dipped and he girls like him. And,
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, so, okay, we can go this route and still be cool. So I think you are true. Like
that's
about
one of the answers then.
The visual, it has to look visually appealing.
I don't play when I come in the classroom. Like, I got a mirror. You know what I mean? I'll be like, before I step in there, they like, yo, you always. But it's like, nah, I want to look good when I come in here, man. I want to show y'all like this is what it is. You know what I mean? It
matters for us, man.
I take my do-rag off right before I walk in the class. The spinner's got to be spinning. You know what I mean? Just because like you can't play with this, man.
Nah,
like,
you can't.
And now, being from New Orleans,
yes,
we see man, First 48, I watch First 48 all the time. Some of my favorite episodes is New Orleans, you know what I mean? And because I'm a criminal justice major, so I'm just into all that stuff. But it get gritty out there.
Very much so.
So it's like, can you tell us, the name of the show, How to Beat the Streets? What's one of the, worst circumstances you've seen out there that you know of, and how was you able to just overcome that whole, mindset, the poverty, the pain? Like, how was you able to, beat the streets?
One of the words so you want like a specific situation?
Yeah,
like
well, you knew like, yo, this right here,
that's crazy.
This is crazy.
Yeah, there was a situation, man, uptown, man, that happened a couple years ago, man. This probably right before COVID, man, and shootout situation, man. And we gonna keep people anonymous, but it was this one cat against 5 in a car, and that one cat survived with a chopper, right? With an AK, because that's how we play with it. Chopper City, right? Yeah. The home of the AK-47, man, New Orleans, and I'm not bragging on that at all, because we losing way too many brothers in the street. But that situation, I remember when that happened, and like seeing it on the news and like people talking about it right around neighborhood, and it's like the mindset, bro. Like our mind, like life is so cheap, but like that's the mindset. New Orleans, it's like there's everybody their own king. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why it's a bloodbath like it is, because it ain't, there is no structure. There is no, like, we don't do gangs, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no colors, like, it's every man for himself, you know what I'm saying? And every man his own war general, you know what I'm saying? So in New Orleans, you got to hustle. You got to be if you hustle, you got to be a hustler, a killer. You got to be all of it in one. Ain't no, I just shoot dice, or I just rob, or no, you got to do all of that by yourself if you going out there in that water like that. You know what I'm saying? So I just remember that situation being like, man, that's the city. Like you got to hold your own, and it's one against 5, and that one survive in a shootout. You know what I'm saying?
Now seeing all of those things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was the moment where you knew, like, all right, I gotta beat the streets. Like I can't be, you know what I mean? I can't lose to this. What was that moment for you? And from there, you took it to the top.
I've had a couple of them moments, man. It ain't one. I've had a couple of them moments. Definitely both times going to jail was like, man, what am I doing in here, man? Like these cats are like can barely spell their name, illiterate, mental health issues, didn't come from any like level of foundation. Because I've never painted this. I don't want to paint this picture like I just come from like nothing. That ain't the case, bro.
You got a strong family background.
That ain't the case. I wanted it. You know what I'm saying? I wanted it. It wasn't like I was born into like poverty or something like that. Now we were low income, like everybody. That's normal. You know what I'm saying? Food stamps, all like that ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to paint this picture like and not give my mom her credit. Like she didn't set up a good foundation for me, because she did. That aside, I still wanted it. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to it more than it come and find me. So I'm not gonna paint this picture like, I ain't had no choices and all that. Nah, man. Nah, I wanted it. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is in the city. You know what I'm saying? For a myriad of reasons. But
you got to make sure that you know. I like when people say that, because it's like that's where it all starts. It starts with you.
Start with you.
You know what I mean? Like
we got choice, bro. We got agency.
And a lot of people don't take credit for that. It's like, you could have like the wise learn from others' mistakes, like we talked about earlier. Like you see everything out here. You know what I mean? You see the right and you see the wrong. So it's like, when you get in those circumstances and you got to sit up, or you know what I mean, you start losing stuff, it's like, yo, you have to remember.
You got to own that too.
Exactly.
You got to own that, bro. You made choices, bro. Like and I hear a lot of times, cats, my situation was this. My daddy wasn't there. I ain't know, you made choices, man. At the end of the day, yeah. Because was your circumstances the best? No, but you made choices, and you got to accept that when it comes back to you. As a man, you got to stand on that.
That's a fact.
10 toes down, bro.
10.
And take your lick, whatever that may be. You got to take your lick, and I was ready to do that.
Now, this part of the show is called the Putting You On segment.
Yeah.
For a brother like you, you've been through a lot, you've seen a lot.
Yeah.
Can you just share maybe a book, podcast, a song that continues to put you in that space of a positive mindset? You know what I mean? Got to keep pushing, got to keep going.
Hustler's Ambition, 50 Cent.
Woo! That's that. Okay. Why you chose that one?
It just, when it comes on and I hear it, and I hear the pain. I hear the fire that he's not going to be denied.
I want to find things in my life.
So I hustle.
Okay, yeah.
In my way, I'm trying to get mine. And I buck. Like, it's like, I hear it and my stomach start curling. I'm like, man, this dude. You hear it all. You hear the grit, the grime.
I'm listening to that on the way home today.
And then you hear like the triumph. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it speaks. That song has always spoken to my spirit, man. And it's one that keeps me going and never gets old.
Now, sitting down, just talking to you, man, it's like your life is like a movie. You know what I mean?
So.
Like you got
People tell me that all the time.
So like, let's say, you know, we watching your movie right now.
Yeah.
What's the 3 key takeaways from your story?
Self-confidence.
That's one.
1. Humility. 2. Being humble. Kindness. Being kind to people.
Why you chose kindness for the last one? That's different.
The universe sees it.
Okay.
And I truly, truly believe with all the calamities and misfortunes and mistakes and bad choices that I've made, I believe the universe keeps a tally on how good I treat people. Whether I make a mistake or not, my intentions is always pure, if that makes sense. And I believe we all have a sort of a karmic credit score.
That.
And there's no, like, everything's tallied. There's nothing that's not being done that's not being accounted for. And I believe I'm in this season now, and it didn't go bad. I'm not 6 feet under. I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm not in a I don't have a bag attached to me or nothing like that. Right. I ain't never been pierced by a bullet. You know what I'm saying? Nothing like that. I think that's because I genuinely treat people with the utmost respect. Kindness, man. Like, I'm super generous. You ask my team. We have, like, I give, bro. Like, I give you.
I see right now, man. You showed a lot of love just, you know, being here with me today, man. So you want to salute you for that too.
And I think that's why that's why I'm here. And I'm gonna continue to walk like that. Continue. Yeah.
All right. Now, before we end, can you just share a message with the Black youth, man?
Yeah.
Anything that you have on your heart right now, just to share with the culture.
Gamble on yourself, man. You're gonna hear a lot of different opinions about what people think you are or what you should be. Evaluate your crew. Evaluate the people around you. Because if they don't believe you're somebody, you'll start to believe in how they view you more than how you view yourself. One of my biggest keys to success and finding my lane was really standing on my own 10, as far as knowing my ability, knowing that I'm great, and not allowing the voices around me and the people around me to, like, dilute that or undermine that, because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. If you dream too big, what you should be doing, if you dream too big, you know what I mean, that proximity from your partners and your friends and things of that nature, they're not going to value it like you value. They're not going to value your greatness and your potential like you will. And you have to be strong-minded enough to even look your partners in their face like, nah, bro, like, I'm going to do this. I can do this. And sometimes it may even mean you might have to remove yourself too. That's a hard conversation we don't want to have. But it has to happen, bro. Because if you're not strong enough to make that decision, you're not going to be strong enough to have success.
There you have it, man. Where can we follow you so we can stay in tune?
Man, find me on Instagram at High Risk CEO. High Risk CEO. My organization page is Real Bros Teach. That's REALBRUHS. Teach. Real Bros Teach. Facebook, Brothers Empowered to Teach. What I'm forgetting, man. Our website, www.be2t.org. That's lowercase b, lowercase e, the number 2, lowercase t.org, be2t.org. And we out here working, man.
Woo. And there you have it, man. The High Risk CEO, Larry.
I appreciate you, bro. Good time.
Yeah,
yes, sir.